Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The News.
Good evening, America, and welcome to Junk in the News. I'm your evening news anchor, Jack Kiesling. Y'all are like, dude, we already know that. We're watching the show. Tracking. First story tonight, something really, really cool. The first person to cross the finish line at a race, not the only winner. Okay? Sometimes not the only winner. Let me introduce you to two young gentlemen. The gentleman that you see on the right, in the red, is a young man by the name of Levi LaGrange. Now, Levi is a sophomore in high school. He attends Western Boone High School. Okay? He was recently running a long-distance race for his school's long-distance team. He was a half mile from the finish when disaster struck. Unfortunately, young Levi took a false step and rolled his ankle. Very, very painful. If any of you have ever rolled your ankle, you know that is a bad, bad, bad deal. Okay? Right behind him, in second place, was a high school senior who attends Sheridan High School, a young man by the name of Axel Ailman. Now, Mr. Axel could have easily seized this opportunity when Levi rolled his ankle to cruise past him and take the victory. He very easily could have done that. Half a mile from the end, he's in second place. No real challengers nearby. We got this, right? I'm going to win. But he didn't. He decided to do the right thing, to do something to serve a higher calling. He stopped, and he put his hand on young Levi's back, and he gave him the encouragement, the positive support necessary for young Levi to cross the finish line. He helped him all the way there. And he even made sure that Levi crossed the finish line first. Yeah? No doubt many other runners passed him along the way to the finish line. So not only did he give up a pretty sure victory, but he bumped that sure victory all the way down in the ranks. Okay? So, Mr. Ailman said that in that moment he knew helping Mr. LaGrange cross the finish line was more important than the race. Okay? He also said that when you're standing at a crossroad or running by it, you can choose the path of self-interest, or you can go the extra mile for someone in need. Words of wisdom, indeed. So, Mr. Ailman, Jack's Junkyard gives you an official tip of the cap. Well done. Keep doing awesome things. Young leader. Okay? Kindness like that, very important in our world today. Sometimes we see kindness like that from the little guys, the people who are out in the world just doing their life, right? But sometimes we need to see that from celebrities, people more well-known. We need to see that example. Well, a rock star you might have heard of before by the name of Dave Grohl has recently showed us exactly what that example looks like. Let's check it out. What you see on your screen is a young lady by the name of Nandi Bushnell. Now, she lives in England, and she's a huge rock music fan. She's a drummer in her own right. 10 years old, already very, very talented. You might have seen some of her videos on YouTube in the past. Goodness gracious. That burp, courtesy of Ripid Energy Fuel. Anyway, she's a big Dave Grohl fan, and she said one of her dreams was to play with Dave Grohl. So, she made a video doing a drum cover of one of Dave Grohl's masterpieces, a song called Everlong that he recorded in 1997. She posted it up on the YouTube and the Twitter and all the things, tagged him in it, and said that she was challenging him to a drum competition. Now, many of you know, because who hasn't tried to contact a celebrity on social media before because you just think how cool it would be to talk to them? They never answer back, like ever, right? For real. I've been trying to talk to Taylor Swift for like 2 years. She ignores me forever. Okay? Anyway, Dave Grohl didn't take that route. No. Not only did he respond, but he borrowed his daughter Harper's drum set, okay? His daughter's drum set, and recorded himself doing a playthrough of Everlong. He said that he had not played that song since it was recorded in 1997. So maybe a little rusty there. Not only did he put up a video of him doing a playthrough of this song, and you can see Nandi watching that video in the image on your screen, but he also issued her a challenge. So now she is learning this song, Dead End Friends by the Crooked Vultures, for round 2 of their drum competition. Super, super fun, right? This seems like a small thing. It seems like maybe a trivial thing, something silly. But I guarantee for that little girl, this experience is a huge inspiration that she's going to be able to use in her career, in her life moving forward to keep fuel for the passion, okay? Guys like Ricardo Vienna make it seem like an easy thing, right? To be professional musicians, but it's not. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours and weeks and days and years of practice to be successful and proficient in art forms like that. No matter how good she is, at some point, Nandi is going to hit that wall where it's hard. Well, hopefully, this moment in time and the moments she is sure to share in the future with Dave Grohl will keep that inspiration alive and help her keep pushing to reach the dream and the goal. Speaking of inspiring children and people who definitely need it, let's meet a young couple who chose to take their wedding celebration, destroyed by COVID, and turn it into something awesome. The folks that you see on screen are Melanie and Tyler Tapina. Now, these beautiful people were about to get married and COVID wrecked everything. Not an unfamiliar story, okay? They had to cancel their wedding reception because of COVID. Rather than go to their caterer and try to get a refund and do all of those things, they chose to use that moment in time to do something amazing. Okay, so they had their wedding ceremony, very small, intimate ceremony with their friends and close friends, or friends and close family. Then they took all of the budget from their catering and had their caterer turn that into meals for a local homeless shelter. So after their ceremony, they went over to a shelter in Parma, Ohio, which is where they live. The shelter is called Laura's Home. It's a home for women and children. And not only did they donate all of that money, in the form of meals to the shelter, but they also went there on their wedding day, and as you can see in the images, in full wedding regalia, the dress, the tuxedo, all of it, jumped behind the service line and served all of these people. Now, any of you who've ever been married know that a catering budget for a wedding is no small thing. What's really cool is the money that they, in effect, donated is feeding this shelter for several days. Really, really cool. So the couple said of their day that the best part of their whole special day was the smiles that it brought, and not just to the people who live in the shelter, but to the workers, to the caterers, to everyone who was involved in this thing. That's really amazing. Okay. I had an opportunity to speak with Miss Melanie directly this afternoon because I didn't know how to pronounce her last name, so I reached out to her and asked. Okay, and she made it a point in that conversation, very, very brief conversation, but she made it a point to indicate how desperately the world needs messages of kindness today. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. When I look at these pictures of this beautiful couple who chose to take a pretty bad situation and turn it into something amazing, not just for them, but for, hundreds of people. That, to me, is what love is all about, and how amazing for their marriage to have the moment that it begins be born out of care and compassion and generosity for people they don't even know. A very, very big tip of the cap from Jack's Junkyard to Tyler and Melanie. Amazing stuff. Okay. A tip of the cap. A tip. So, okay, the tip of the cap came because I have been saying a hats off, but as you have noticed, my hair looks ridiculous. Ridiculous.
And that's why you showed it on camera again.
They deserve to know.
Yeah, I know, but if you're going to change it and say tip of the cat instead of hats off because you didn't want to show them your hair, then why would you still show them your hair?
I'm not a smart man. I don't know why you ask me. Yes, Matt, 2 claps and a Ric Flair. That's what we need to do. Okay, let's talk about 2 claps and a Ric... You know what? We'll talk about that in a minute. Hang on, Matt. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay? Nevertheless, Tyler, Melanie, you're awesome. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. I try to be professional in the news segments and I always fail. All right, stand by for these words from your local station. The Fists of Arkan is the debut novel by author Jack Kiesling. Action, adventure, and personal challenges are the focal point of this immersive book set against a backdrop of war. Deep character development and wide perspectives explore social issues relevant to the real world. Dive in and discover the answer to the age-old question faced by leaders many. What kind of royal will you be? This is a paid advertisement for Jack Kiesling Books and the Fist of Arkan.